My name is Michaela. My pronouns are she, her, and I first wanted to start off giving you a little bit of background about Plastic-Free Greater Sudbury. We started Plastic-Free Greater Sudbury as a community campaign in June 2018. We were a little bit frustrated and pretty tired of receiving so much single-use plastic from our favorite local shops, and we really wanted to do something about it. So we wanted to help businesses, organizations, schools, any sort of establishment remove or swap 3 single-use plastics. It quickly shifted to a way to engage and educate the entire community. And so you might have heard me say we, and by we, I mean Liz and I. So Liz and I met as 2 master's students working on a very different project, but quickly learned that our collective interest and passion for reducing single-use plastics was quite apparent. So Liz is here not as the co-founder of Plastic-Free Greater Sudbury, but she is here as the owner of the nickel refillery. So as we were doing our work with Plastic-Free, we identified many gaps in our community, and one of them being able to access zero waste products locally. And so Liz, being the awesome boss lady that she is, decided to do something about it and open the nickel refillery. So Liz is here today as the owner of nickel refillery, like I said. And so through this 1.5-year grant, we have been working with local restaurants, hospitality industry establishments to help them reduce single-use plastics. Let's see, perfect. So like I said, our goal is to help businesses reduce single-use plastics. And so 2018, we started doing this. We worked with quite a few establishments, lots of schools, worked with Science North, Laurentian, all sorts of people who were really interested in this as well. And we soon found out that we could apply for funding through the Ontario Trillium Foundation. And that's just what we did. And we were successful in receiving funding to continue doing this work. So our goal was to reach 30 independently owned hospitality businesses to help them identify their contribution to single-use plastic waste and to support them to make an action plan to reduce it. And so we also created a video, which I'm going to play now. This video gives a really good overview on everything that we've been doing for the past 1.5 years. Plastic-Free Greater Sudbury started as a community campaign in June 2018 with the goal to help businesses, organizations, and schools reduce single-use plastics. We work with these establishments through collaborative, sustainable, and socially inclusive efforts. We started off by working with restaurant and cafe owners to identify commonly used and easy to reduce single-use plastics. We got these establishments to take the pledge, which means they agreed to reduce at least 3 single-use plastic items that customers would normally receive. In 2019, we took action, and the Ontario Trillium Foundation funded our program. We then joined Rethink Green as part of their shared platform program. We start by working with the business owner to identify areas they would like to improve. Once we determine at least 3 single-use plastics to either eliminate, reduce, or replace, we come up with an action plan together. Action plans help us to understand what goals they are working towards and helps businesses stay on track. Finally, we celebrate their successes on social media, our website, and at Rethink Green's annual awards ceremony. The Nickel Refillery, a zero-waste grocery store and lifestyle store, joined in October 2019. They have reduced 140,000 single-use plastics from the landfill since they opened. All products are package-free, and customers are encouraged to bring their own containers. They also have a kitchen TerraCycle to recycle items that cannot normally be recycled. Salute, a local coffee shop, joined in June 2018 and was the winner of the 2019 Plastic-Free Greater Sudbury Sustainability Award. They offer bamboo cutlery for takeout, wooden stir sticks, package-free crackers for soup, and a discount for bringing your own mug. Tuco's Taco Lounge, a local restaurant, joined in February 2019. They say that sustainability is a #1 priority and one reason that they are a vegan restaurant. They offer paper straws, compostable takeout containers, and paper bags. Flirples, a local seasonal vegan ice cream shop, joined in February 2019. They offer paper straws for milkshakes, wooden spoons for ice cream, and compostable cups and bowls. Old Rock Coffee Roaster, Pinchman's, Beards, The Cedar Nest, and Salty Dog Bagels are all local coffee shops that offer wooden or bamboo utensils, paper straws, and paper takeout packaging or bags, and some have a discount for bringing your own mug or other container. The Cuisina, Motley Kitchen, La Fromagerie, and Tony V's are local restaurants that offer paper bags for takeout, either paper straws or only give out plastic straws on request. Some have bamboo cutlery for takeout upon request, and compostable takeout containers. Indie Cinema, a local independent theater, joined in February 2020. They teach their customers which waste receptacles to use and say it works better than signage. They offer compostable cups with recyclable lids, and they ask the customer if they need them before giving them out. Compostable popcorn bags, and recyclable snack boxes. After working with businesses for over 2.5 years, we have determined a number of local best practices to help these businesses reduce single-use plastics. Plastic straws were the most common item to stop offering for a few reasons. Some customers are already vocal about not needing them. They're a high-profile issue in the media surrounding environmentalism, and it's quite easy to switch to paper straws as they're relatively inexpensive. Most businesses that participated were already doing this or were very receptive to this change. Plastic cutlery is another common item that businesses phased out. We suggested a simple way to do this, which is to ask the customer if they need the cutlery. Oftentimes, people are going back home to eat their takeout and don't actually need cutlery. A few businesses made the switch to bamboo cutlery and charged a small fee, between 10 cents and 25 cents. This was a great approach because it allowed the business to cover the extra costs and made customers stop and think if they actually did need it. Plastic bags are another easy switch for businesses. Paper bags are relatively inexpensive and are becoming the norm. Some business owners didn't seem to mind the increased costs of the paper bags, as it helped to reduce their environmental impact. But once they started reducing single-use plastics, many businesses found creative ways to stop using or switch out single-use plastics. These accomplishments show that the plastic-free journey is far from a single step, but an entire path. With each step, we are closer to the goal and learn many things along the way. The transition has begun, and together with our municipality, local businesses, and everyday citizens, we can take that next step. So, anyone recognize that voice? That was me. It's always horrible hearing your own voice. I don't think it'll ever get normal. But yeah, so that video, I think, did a pretty good job at giving you a sense of the businesses that we worked with, the things that they did to reduce single-use plastics, and a little bit more information about what it was like. So I touched on this in the video, but I also wanted to share the best practices that we've identified. So working with businesses locally is quite has been around for a while, but it's still very new in its practices. And there isn't much information out there. So when I was going to do research for this and like, what should I talk to these businesses about? There really wasn't anything out there. And oftentimes we were getting people asking us these questions. And I would have to say, well, we're just kind of learning about this as we go, but here's some things that I've learned. So come up with 2 best practices for Sudbury specific. First one can be translated elsewhere. So touched on this on the video, like I said, but I coined this term, the big 3. We've heard of the big 5 for other single-use plastics, but I wanted to talk about the big 3 in this sense. So when we're working with a business and we're getting them on board, they've shown interest in reducing plastics and they say, what now? We say, let's focus on the big 3. These were carefully considered. As you might already know, there is a single-use plastic ban coming into effect, or the guidelines are coming into effect at the end of 2021, and there's 6 items on there. These 3 are also on there as well. So that's one consideration that we've taken. Another consideration we've taken is that there are affordable, accessible, and easy to switch out options. So to get into it, first thing we would tell a business is to eliminate plastic straws. These are the easiest thing that a business can do. A few reasons for this. Like I mentioned, there's been a lot of environmental work. We've probably all seen that horrific video of the sea turtle with the straw up its nose, and we'll never be able to forget that. And paper straws are fairly affordable. Not plastic, they are in they're pretty affordable. And they're easy to switch. It's not a big, huge commitment that a business has to do in order to do this. And there are a few ways that we can help them even do this more. So one of them we say is stop offering straws. When you bring a cup to a person, there's no straw with it. Easy peasy. You don't have to buy paper straws. You don't have to buy plastic straws anymore. But we also like to share and educate at the same time. We recognize that there's some accessibility issues or requirements from people that may need a straw for drinking and actually being able to hydrate properly. We don't want to go against that. Our goal is not to make this harder or challenging for anyone. We want it to be accessible to everyone. So we suggest having a small stash of plastic straws available is enough. So have paper straws, but don't give them out. If someone does ask for them, then it's super easy because you have these things available and you can give the paper straws. Or last option is to give paper straws. Eliminate the plastic onto plastic bags. So we would tell them to swap out plastic bags. Paper bags, ideally ones made from recycled content, again, are becoming the norm. We're seeing them in grocery stores even. We're knowing that the detrimental effects of plastic bags, we're seeing it in the environment. We know that they're made from non-renewable resources, and overall, they aren't great if they're used only once. So choosing paper bag helps save on non-renewable resources and can be composted or recycled absolutely anywhere. Or sometimes we tell them, so like you can hear this, we like to give lots of options and we like to work collaboratively. You don't have to offer any kind of bag. You can start with that. They'll say, oh, okay, sure, no big deal. I'll bring a bag. Or I'll just carry it in my arms like this out to my car. So people are adaptable. That's another thing that we really learned from this. And lastly, reduce plastic cutlery. So we've identified that plastic cutlery is the easiest thing to reduce. So you'll notice in all of these, I said eliminate plastic straws, swap plastic bags, and reduce plastic cutlery. We know that people need cutlery when they're getting takeout. Probably not right now because we're all going home to eat our takeout and not to a nice park or enjoying it outside or with friends or anything like that. So we're going home to it. But we wanted to offer an option for businesses if they still needed to use cutlery or offer cutlery. So we suggest bamboo cutlery. Like I said in the video, to offset the cost of these a little bit more expensive items, we suggest that they offer or charge a small fee and have it show up on the bill. Have customers see that this is something that they're paying for, and maybe next time they won't be interested in getting it. Or they'll bring it up and the business owners can say, you know what, we've made this decision and this is why we're doing it. Like I said, people are adaptable and they're most likely to be okay with it. Another thing that we say is ask the customer first. They're ordering takeout and we get them to say, do you need cutlery today? Yeah, I do. Okay, well, just so you know, it's about 20 cents that we charge for cutlery per fork, per spoon, whatever it may be. Customer might be more likely to not want to pay for it at that point and then not take it. So it's really a win-win for everyone, all around. Next best practice, okay, I need to take a drink. Next best practice is compostable plastics aren't the answer for Greater Sudbury yet. So many pledging businesses were interested in using bioplastics or compostable plastics, all those buzzwords that we hear, as an alternative to single-use plastics, be it straws, cutlery, takeout containers, whatever it is. And through this project, we've identified that the city of Greater Sudbury can only accept 2 types of certified compostable products. Doesn't matter what they are, you just probably want to know what items are. So they can be anything made out of cardboard, waxed cardboard, paper, untreated cardboard, parchment, and butcher paper. So many of the single-use alternatives, bioplastic, compostable plastics, are made out of plant products or fibers, but they technically decompose like plastics, making them unfit for the process in our city's compost. So that's why I say yet, because there's opportunity for the city to maybe update their facility to start being able to compost these things. Compostable plastics are so new. They're so new. Sure, they're great, but they're so new that our systems aren't having time to catch up to the amazing advancements that we're seeing. So unfortunately, this is a systems issue that we just kind of have to wait for. But like I said, we're getting businesses to do all sorts of other things and really doing quite inventive and creative things to reduce single-use plastics. And I just wanted to mention here too, I said here, next time we're going to make sure a business does the big 3, but that's not necessarily it. I want to use this opportunity now that we've identified these big 3 that are really great single-use plastic items to eliminate, swap, or reduce. We want to encourage businesses to start from there. Maybe they've already started doing things and we'd be happily to have them come on board to take the pledge, but sometimes a lot of businesses, we've noticed that we reach out to them and we're super eager. They're like, great, sure, I want to do this thing, but like, what do I do? And before we would go into the business, we'd look around, we'd say, hey, this is something that you can do. This is something you can do. But I think, and what we've identified is having these set things that people can do, business owners can do, makes it so much more accessible and easy for them to get on board. So that's my spiel for the best practices. Moving on, let's see if I can, Mark, can you move this forward? Oh, never mind. Oh, sorry, I lied. COVID considerations. It's hard to talk about anything right now without this COVID cloud looming over us. I made that up last night. I was thinking, what do I call this? A COVID cloud. We've all experienced challenges this past year due to the pandemic, and our project as well. We had to be put on hold for 6 months because of this sudden shift that businesses had to take to go to completely takeout options. We were so used to going into a business, working collaboratively with these owners, sitting down at one of their tables and talking about these things. And we've noticed that business owners are really hard to reach, especially restaurant owners. They work in the now. They show up, they do everything they need to do. They're in the kitchen, they're at the front, they're, all over the place. And it's hard to reach them on the phone and over email. Rightfully so. They are so incredibly bombarded at all aspects of their work life that expecting them to answer emails was really hard. So here are some considerations that we would like to consider. That's the wrong word. Acknowledge. So some things that we noticed, other than going to takeout, we've noticed that cafe owners, so coffee shops, they were starting to offer discounts for people who brought in their own reusable mug. We loved this idea. It was incentivizing. Businesses were like, sure, I can give 10% off, 25 cents off. Like that is nothing for us. And we don't have to pay for like single-use cups to give out. More people are bringing in their reusable cups. Win, win, win. Everyone's happy. Not the case during COVID because these reusable options at the beginning were considered unsanitary. And I would like to debunk that right now because there has been an official document that's been backed by over 100 public health officials that have said reusable options are not unsanitary right now. Maybe Liz will talk about this after with her operations with the nickel refiller. She's been completely reusing items throughout this entire pandemic and no one's gotten sick. Public health has not been concerned. They've probably been bombarded with so many other things, but there have been lots of precautions and there are lots of ways to do it safe. We're seeing now there's an organization called City to Sea. They're in the UK and they've created this incredible video that shows people and how to use reusable coffee mugs safely right now. So essentially the person walks in with their mug and they put it on one of those like trays that servers carry around. It's on the front desk part. Put it on, take a step back, 6 feet apart. The barista takes the tray, only touches the tray, doesn't touch the reusable mug, brings it over, sets it down, and they make a shot of espresso, froth the milk in their own containers, pour it in, brings the tray back, gives it to the customer, and the customer grabs it. So it's really, really cool to see how inventive and creative people are being right now. Every business has those like catering trays. It's not an extra cost that a business needs to start getting or to be able to modify, and it's really quite simple. Unfortunately, we haven't seen this in Sudbury, but we know that Sudbury is pretty slow to movement, and we are encouraging our business owners that have taken the pledge to do this. It's just like I said, they're so bombarded and so overwhelmed with everything going on right now that it's hard to expect them to do everything. I also wanted to mention that skip the dishes. That's probably one of the most frequently used words we've heard in the past year. It's been very important for businesses or participating businesses to ensure that their customers can get takeout food. And something that we like to encourage with business owners that have taken the pledge is there's a thing that they can do on their end to opt in or opt out. So they can set it up on their end. So if someone wants cutlery, they have to click the button to say that they want cutlery, and they can also include a charge on there. So we're seeing so many workarounds to be able to reduce single-use plastics. Just last week, even Two Ghost Tacos started charging for their napkins. We're going home. We have Kleenex, we have toilet paper, we have cloth napkins, dish towels, absolutely everything that we could need in our houses. Why do we need paper napkins as well? So it's, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's just really cool to see the things that we're able to change and shift through this process. So that's all I have. I wanted to take a little moment here to plug our recent document report. I have it printed here, this beautiful thing. It has all the information that I just talked about and more. We made these beautiful business profiles to see what the participating businesses are doing, what they're doing for their community and environment to reduce single-use plastics. If you would like to see a copy of this, it's on our website. I'll share the link in the chat after, and I would love if you could read it. There was a lot of effort that was put into this, and we're really, really excited to share the amazing results that have come out of this grant. So that's all from me.
Wow.
Mark, did you want to take it away now?
Yeah, back to me. So
now we're going to go back to a discussion. So if you had any questions that you felt more comfortable just asking out loud, I invite you to unmute your mic and ask a question.
Or you could always leave it in the chat too.
Yes.
We have someone moderating that to let us know.
Okay. Well, I was able to prepare in advance some questions for both Liz, both Michaela. So this one's for both of you. What are some of the plastic-free tips that people can use in their own homes?
Good one. So our work recently has been working with businesses. I've been so single track minded on that, but it's hard not to think about individuals too. Something that we like to talk about is the big five. So I said I coined the term the big three, but that's not true because the big five has already been in existence. I'm just using the big three for this situation. But the big five, so we like to tell people before you leave your house, always bring the big five with you, which are straw, bag, bottle, mug, and utensil. We're not really going anywhere these days to bring those things with us, but going to the grocery store, that's something that you can bring. You can, if you get takeout coffee, you can bring a straw. Maybe someone will let you bring their mug eventually. So we like to start and suggest starting with the big five. Did you have anything, Liz?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. What I really focus on are things in my control right now, because I still want to support small businesses locally, right? But also want to be mindful of the things that are still in my control. So say you're going to get a smoothie from a local restaurant, right? Like you're going to think about what could you bring or what could you have on hand that could reduce something in that equation, right? So obviously they're not the cup right now currently, based on all the restaurants that are not offering any other options at this point, but a straw, a napkin, like Michaela's brought up, those are easy things to swap. Now more practical things like inside the house, I tend to focus on things like keeping bread bags and keeping milk bags, washing them out, and then reusing those for like my freezer bags or baked goods, a lot of muffins and easy things like that, because those are grab and go, package free snacks for my kids, for example. And yeah, I don't buy Ziploc anymore, and I haven't for many years. And so I'm always like, ooh, this is a good bag for the freezer, or, oh, this could work as a this, or, so I think it's just looking at your everyday products and, what could be reused, what couldn't be. Thinking about herbs, you have an abundance of herbs, instead of letting them go bad, freeze them in little jars in your freezer or in little bread bags, things like that. So it doesn't have to be anything expensive. It doesn't have to be even anything to do with the big five, that, because those are your day-to-day things that are really handy to have. But it's really easy to reduce waste just in your everyday sort of mundane moments as well, right? So those are the things I try to focus on sometimes.
One, like, this reminded me, doing like a garbage audit. Sounds fancy, it's not. You look in your garbage can and you see what's in there. What are you noticing often? That can kind of give you perspective if you're feeling overwhelmed on like, where do I start? Like, I have an entire kitchen. How could I possibly reduce anything? So if you're looking in your garbage, you can see the things that you're throwing out often. To piggyback on the plastic bag, berry bags, they're freezer bags already that I use for anything like batch cooking, easy to write on with a Sharpie and just toss it in. So I like the bag option.
Yeah, the reusable bags and jars. Jars are key. I mean, my freezer is just full of random jars at this point, and my husband gets pretty mad sometimes. He's like, "What are these things? What is this?" So label. That's one key tip is get a labeling system in place and do it right.
You can't tell from behind me. Well, you might. So there's a secret door over there that leads to our cold cellar, and there's just a bunch of pickles, homemade pickles from the garden every year. It's super good. But you have like Liz, because I know you can't tell what I'm looking at. The Nuka Refillery has a bunch of is like net zero waste. That's at least the goal. You have a lot of products that probably normally come in a lot of packages. Like, what are probably products that people normally get that have a lot you that your store sells that has none?
Yeah, and I mean, by all means, we are not perfect yet because, right, we are also at the mercy of a default plastic system, right? So we often will end up with single-use plastics sometimes, and then we sit down and we say, okay, where can we improve from here? Okay, yes, this stuff came with tags. This thing, how sustainable would it be for them to be able to do a practical, that kind of thing. And so we're always a trial and error process. So the main goal is, even though we may make mistakes or we may get something with single-use plastic, as long as we try to prevent that from happening again, that's usually our. With that said, the most common single-use plastics, I would have to say, that we sell the most of. I mean, dish soaps and hand soaps are a really common one. So foam soap in particular sticks out to my mind because I used to buy those bags of foam soap refills. I'm sure most of us have seen those, right? I used to think I was doing a good deed, right, by buying these bags that would refill my foam soap, until I figured out how easy it was to make my own through the Refillery and elsewhere. I mean, all it takes is a quarter cup of cast style soap, or even just like a really thin hand soap. You fill your foam bottle with that, and the rest water, and bam, voila, there it is. So for about $1.50, you can get a Refillery and fill your own refill jars, and choose your scent based on the cast style soap. So I think little things like that are probably where we see the biggest plastic reduction thing. Just been marketed to make us feel like we get them in a certain way, and we've sort of forgotten about the principles of how to do things ourselves, and and that they can be equally as convenient if ingredients on hand, right? So there's a huge educational component to this. And, yeah, I can go down a rabbit hole. Sorry.
I just love to chime in because so you started talking about what you usually receive, that you try to pivot to not receive more. You were talking and it made me remember. So they buy these bags called Cutlery bags, sell them, or they're sold at the Refillery, and they're reusable snack bags. They're, come in all sorts of sizes. And they used to have a little cardboard tag on it. Liz was like, okay, what if someone collects all of their garbage in a mason jar? Like, those videos that we see, this is all my waste for a whole month. Liz is like, I don't want to contribute to that mason jar. Like, they're trying to reduce their waste and we're giving them more. Like, that doesn't make sense. So Liz simply emailed the company and said, hey, do you think you could stop putting these tags on? And they said yes.
They're like, no problem.
No problem. Like, didn't they say, like, we've never even thought of that?
Well, they were just like, yeah, this comes from our race. And so majority of these companies, reasons, they're not trying to be not sustainable, right? They're doing it because it's demanded by the businesses that request their products or buy their products, right? So if they have enough demand from businesses who are buying their products, they're going to adapt to what our needs are, right? So I mean, even like the jar company we get our jars from, they used to send it in foam, and we just said, hey, this isn't what we want. We're not going to buy from you if that's the case. And so they're like, oh, well, we'll use craft packed paper, recycled paper instead. Would that work? And we're like, perfect. And so we now upcycle that paper to use it for like our soap wrapping and stuff. When people, are putting it into their purse and stuff. So, I think it's just thinking outside the box and being willing to ask questions, right? Instead of just taking the default all the time. So.
And I think it's so incredibly cool to see that influence that you have as a business owner to make those changes for your customers. Imagine everyone thought like that. Like, hey, I'm just going to challenge the status quo. I'm just going to ask. Like, they could say no, that's the worst thing. Or they could, how this is translated through your business, and to kind of control that you can potentially have if people are willing to work with you.
And a lot of from the customers, our local customers, and the team that work at the Refillery, right? So Michaela, yourself a big brained community at this point, because it's anytime, you know, customers are constantly coming up to me and being like, oh, hey, did you see this? Like, there's this new thing and I tried it and X, Y, and Z. And so I think it really does take a community approach and a community sort of shifting to that circular economy lens from everyone's perspective. And it becomes unstoppable.